Let's see what Joe's got for us today.
Of the
Mr.
Diddy
Good Logic.
Day 12 of the Diddy trial, and this morning we saw critical state witness Deontay Nash hold up fairly well to cross-examination and have only just a short redirect before we heard from Mia, which is the pseudonym for a personal assistant who described the tyranny of working directly under Diddy. I am Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. I am a New York litigator who's practiced in this very courthouse, and I'm here every day to break down the legal perspective as to how this trial is unfolding. Now, yesterday we heard from Deontay Nash, who is a celebrity stylist and met Cassie in 2007, and they became very close friends and remain so to this very day. He says he loves her as a friend and that he would go out with her all the time and saw the interactions on a day-by-day basis. And as I described, his testimony was somewhat unique in that not only did he bear witness to the physical, psychological, and emotional abuse that he claims to have watched Diddy unload on Cassie during their on and off tumultuous 11-year relationship.
When he says unload, I'm guessing the physical abuse that Diddy was doing.
But that he was aware of the freak-offs and was able to testify to the fact that she did not want to participate in many of those freak-offs and that she would reluctantly go, saying she didn't want to go. Yesterday, he told us about how on her 29th birthday, she's out partying with her friends, and Diddy showed up, and he wasn't going to tell Diddy no, even though Diddy said, "Do you think I should come?" He's like, "I was not going to tell that man that he could not throw his girlfriend a party," but he didn't think it was a good idea, and sure enough, when Diddy showed up, he demanded that she leaves her party and go with him to a hotel so that they can have a freak-off. He told of several instances like that. He spoke of the physical abuse, how he saw Diddy throw her down and that she hit her head on a bed frame and got scarred from it. He told of Cassie looking to self-delete in frustration when Diddy would follow her and she's trying to run away from him, and he would follow her wherever she was. And he was particularly powerful in two respects. Number one is that the state and the defense, the key element that they're arguing about here, what this trial ultimately can come down to is, was Cassie a willing participant or not? And Cassie herself, when she testified, could seem conflicted at times. Some of her testimony seems like she's saying, I didn't want to do it, and other times she's shown text messages where she's implying that she was okay with it, and she claimed that she had to tell him that in order to keep him happy, in order to keep from facing further abuse, or to deal with his potential blackmail, where he was threatening to expose her, and the financial control that he had over her life, where he would just throw her out of the house sometimes and tell her she'd be left with nothing. And all of this was nicely confirmed by the testimony of Deontay Nash. And what he brings in here is that he was aware of the freak-offs when they were happening, saw her leaving, packing her duffel bag, her black duffel bag with toys to go to these freak-offs, and claimed that she said no, she didn't want to go, but she felt she had no choice, or as Cassie said, at that point it was her job. So while the jury may question the testimony of Cassie, or question her memory, because there's a lot of drug use that's been attested to by virtually everyone who came in here, question whether she actually recalls her own state of mind as to whether or not she had a free choice to go there, the state now has given us a witness who stood up very well to cross-examination, where Donaldson, for the defense, struggled to really get him to refute or recant or look in any way like his testimony was shaken throughout the 3-hour cross-examination that he went through. So, and the other part that makes him particularly damning is his credibility is likely improved by the fact that Deontay Nash on the stand, even though he said, "I absolutely do not want to be here," seems to really feel comfortable in that witness chair. He made several jokes. Every hour there'd be a couple of comments he would make, which would have the viewing room we were watching from laughing. He's a very likable person, and likable people tend to be found to be very credible. So in that regard, Deontay Nash could end up being the turning point for the state in getting convictions for RICO or the trafficking of Cassie. Now, I want to get to the next session, the second half of the morning, which is when we had Mia take the stand. And Mia's testimony, in stark contrast to Deontay Nash, is far more stilted, far more drawn out. You won't see this in the transcript, but when she's talking, especially when she talks about things that seem to be
So they're
affecting
like
her
filibustering?
emotionally, she seems to be continually searching for words in ways that juries will often find to strain credibility. Now, I am not passing judgment on her as she describes the tyranny of working for Diddy. On day one, the very first day she ever worked for Diddy, she had to go for 24 hours straight before he would release her and let her go. She showed up at 10 o'clock in the morning and was working well through the night and into the next afternoon, and that she basically was run ragged by him, where he supposedly needed 4 to 5 personal assistants, and she spent a year as his sole personal assistant, where she had to make sure he was attending to all his needs, handle his all aspects of his social media, serve as his liaison to Hollywood, and predict what needs he would have, and could only go home when Diddy excused her. She described one time she was working for 5 days straight.
Basically, Diddy is
with
a
no
slave
sleep
driver.
until she was left hallucinating and seeing
Yeah,
things blurry
that's
and broke down crying. And she said, "I didn't even know why I was crying. I just started crying."
yeah, that's
until
bad
Diddy
working
finally said,
conditions, to
"All
be
right, go home
honest.
and go to sleep." So all of this leads into the tyranny of Diddy as a boss. And
Yeah.
she made reference to the fact that she was sexually abused by Diddy. We have
Oh.
not yet heard about that. And it's possible that for one reason or another, that her testimony is stilted. Maybe it's because of Diddy. We don't know, but maybe it's got nothing to do with Diddy. But the problem that I think the state may have with her testimony is that ultimately it's very long, it's very drawn out. I felt like I was sitting there for 5 days. It was very slowly coming out. And they're trying to build a foundation, and it could be that there's some things that are compelling. And in certain ways, she's been helpful.
It's probably slowly
corroborating
coming out
the
because this
stories
is
that were
right. They
told
want to
over
make sure
by
that
Deontay Nash,
that
the
her
stories that
story
were
gets
told
out,
over
right?
by Cassie Ventura. In that sense, she has been helpful. And yet, in
I mean,
other
it's going to be
ways,
buried
I'll
with
tell
all
you
these
one
other
thing that I
fucking
expect the
accounts.
cross-examination to be hitting on, which is an infamous incident with a bed frame that her version seems to be somewhat different from Deontay Nash, specifically with how the injury that Cassie ended up sustaining, which led to a scar, occurred. What do I mean by that? Deontay Nash told us yesterday, and seemed to corroborate what Cassie had said, that while he was pushed, that he pushed Cassie. And then she fell and hit her head on the corner of a bed frame, and she ended up sustaining a scar over her left eyebrow, or in the middle of her left eyebrow, which required plastic.
Oh, so is that how she has that scar? Oh shit! I was wondering about that. Yeah, because she just showed up with the scar at one point. I was like, huh? Is it this photo? Where's the photo? Oh no, these are 2010. No, you need current day Cassie. Damn it. I think they're trying to put like a lid on some of the information because I can't. Photo. Oh, there's no good photo there. Is it here? I don't know if we can see it here because she had plastic surgery, so they probably got rid of Oh, yeah, you can kind of tell she had her eyebrows done and shit. That's probably why she, yeah. Oh yeah, this is the image I saw, yeah. Okay, never mind. I thought that, yeah, okay, never mind. I think, yeah, I don't think you can see it on some of these photos because the plastic she had plastic surgery to cover it. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Surgery. When when we had now Mia, who again, that's a pseudonym, that's not her real name. When she was testifying, she said that Cassie took her head and slammed her head down into that bed frame. Those are two very different actions. Those, and I expect, and we should anticipate that on cross-examination, the defense is going to hit on the fact that it does not look the same when someone is thrown down and hits their head on a bed frame versus what Mia was stating, which is that he held her head over the bed frame and
It
slammed it down
smashed her,
into the
yeah.
bed frame.
That's
I
even
very much
worse.
expect that the defense is going to go deep into this to try and establish
Right, it's
that
one thing to
it
do
was
a
not Diddy's
push,
fault that her head fell
and it's
that
one thing to like
hit the
physically
frame. Now,
right grab
the
someone's
story that
head
Deontay
and
told
then
was much more
right to do
consistent
that.
with
That's
that
pretty
that
fucking
Cassie told, that he
fucked.
threw
That's
her and that
brutal.
she ended up hitting the bed frame. So we'll see how this ends up holding up on cross. She does not seem to have the same level of confidence.
Right, because then you could
Deontay
say,
had.
"Oh, maybe
So
he
I expect the
accidentally
cross
pushed
to
her,"
be-
but no,
to be somewhat
no, this
aggressive,
motherfucker
and that
took
Brian
her
Steele
head
is supposed
and
to be doing the
was trying to
cross-examination. We'll see how
smash
that
her
goes.
head
That
against
should
the
come this
goddamn
afternoon, but
column
we have
of the
not yet
bed.
finished the
Right,
direct testimony
that's way
from
worse.
Mia. She has more to give us with respect to her own personal sexual abuse that she claims Diddy gave her. And we'll see how well her credibility holds up. But I want to point out one more thing.
Yo, what up, little
Before
pooper?
I urge you to
What'd you
like,
want?
share, subscribe if you want more of this content, and you should, please do that now. But the thing I want to point out to you is this. All of Mia's testimony here so far, I'm looking at other journalists and I'm asking them, how is this implying when we're talking specifically about the tyranny? And we got an hour and a half to 2 hours, it's just for the longest time, her talking about how hard it was working day after day with him and how aggressive and relentless and how she couldn't sleep or and she couldn't go anywhere unless he excused her. This all shows him to be a terrible person, terrible boss at the very least, a tyrannical boss. But it's difficult to see how this plays in to a charge for sex trafficking or for RICO. And I'm
Dylan,
frankly
how
a little
you?
surprised
Just taking a look
that
at
the
some-
judge allowed so much of this to come in, because it does
Some
seem highly
Diddy
prejudicial.
trial
It's
stuff.
likely to make the jury
Because
dislike
he got his court
Diddy
trial going
for
on right now.
reasons that seem to have little relationship that I can tell to charges from RICO or charges of trafficking under 18 U.S.C.
Also on
1591.
vacation, so that's great
So,
too.
but it is out there. We did get that. We got an extensive detail about his being a tyrannical boss, and we're now starting to get to some of the abuse that she saw that she witnessed Cassie sustain. She did say that she's very close friends with Cassie to this day. She was there with Cassie and Deontay when that bed frame incident happened. She went with Cassie. She also talked about how she went with Cassie to a Prince party, and this corroborates a story that Cassie had told us, how Diddy wanted them to stay in a hotel and they decided to sneak off and go to a Prince party, and sure enough Diddy was there. And we just heard right before the break how Diddy got violent with Cassie, and the next day he suspended Mia from her employment, and she got a notification that she was suspended for insubordination. That's what I got for you this morning. I'm breaking down much more of this for you later this afternoon. I urge you, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want more notifications from your lawyer inside the Diddy courtroom. Till later, Godspeed.
Alright, there you have it. That's the morning, and then he has one more. Yeah, take a look at that one. Here's the afternoon.
Personal assistant, identified in court by the name Mia for purposes of anonymity, testified in court today that Diddy forced her to have non-consensual sex. In addition, she testified to several incidents of SA, some of which she said she was able to remember details, others she said she would black out, and it just started running together. I am Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. I am an attorney who's practiced in this courthouse. I am covering the Diddy trial every day and trying to provide you with a legal perspective as to what is unfolding inside this trial. Today is day 12, and much of the day we saw Mia on the stand, who testified that she was a personal assistant. And this morning we heard all about how Diddy was a tyrannical boss, at times making her work for 5 days straight without any sleep, and the levels of responsibility that she had, that she had to run all of his social media, that she had to be his liaison to Hollywood, that she had to make sure that whatever needs he had, that she would meet them, that she could not leave his side.
Get me my baby oil, bitch.
She had to be, quote, in his eye line at all times, and that her
Where's
hours
my baby oil,
and that she
baby?
had to run the gamut to do everything
Oh,
from
you
him.
better give me
What does
my
that mean?
baby oil before I smack
Everything
you
from
up,
cracking
bitch.
his knuckles to writing his next movie to doing
I'm
his
so
taxes.
sorry.
That's what she had to do for Diddy. He sounds like a terrible boss, awful, just horrific. At the same time, you had to ask yourself, why are we hearing about this? He's not charged with being a bad boss, even if he's a jerk. Why would the court allow her to testify in a way that would seem to be very prejudicial? As we got into the afternoon, we started hearing more and more about his abuse, about his beratement of her, about how he would curse at her, about how he started throwing things at her. And ultimately, as we got near the end of the day, we started hearing about the SA. Now, the incidents with him throwing things at her, he seems like someone who's impossible to please. She claims, for example, they were on set for a movie, and in his trailer he was having trouble to get his Wi-Fi connect. She was sent to go talk to the set production guy, to an assistant, to find out what was wrong with the Wi-Fi. She spoke to that guy, comes back to Diddy, she's explaining to him what's going on. He cuts her off and he starts saying, this is all your fault, this is your responsibility, I don't care if you have to get Bill Gates on the phone. And he picks up his computer and threw it at her head, just missing her head. And she claimed that he was trying to hit her in the head with it. That if anything went wrong, she would get punished, and punishment would result in her being suspended and berated and laughed at, and sometimes physically assaulted. Physical assault that she describes different than this physical assault we've heard about him punching and beating and kicking Cassie, more like picking her up and throwing her into a pool.
It was like dangling
not in
her
a playful
shit.
type of way was certainly the implication, that he got angry and at her when she was laying in a hammock, and threw a bucket of ice water on her and grabbed her phone away and was trying to bully her by going through her phone and running away with it. And she was afraid that he was going to see messages that she had with her staff, because the staff would regularly be talking about his mood, because his mood would dictate the environment and the level of chaos in Diddy World that day, and that she was worried that
you can easily find the video, right?
Where she's like, yeah, he's being
I'm just letting you know
today, and that he would get mad and punish her, and that when he punishes her, that he would be very
I think they're talking about that one
and
instance, right?
Taking away her money,
or just talking about
her,
any instance after that
her,
instance, right?
Basically making her feel, as she said, worthless. But as we got near the end of the day, we started hearing more about the sexual assault.
There's even the one video where she's covered in like some in a black blanket, and then you just see Diddy hovering over her, right, videotaping it,
and that he
or
leaned in
right,
and kissed
recording
her,
it,
and that he had given her a
and
couple of
acting
vodkas,
like a
and that
fucking
for one
dick,
reason or
right?
another, the shots of vodka had more of an impact on her than she said any vodka she ever had before, and that he reached under her skirt, and
so there are videos out there where it shows Diddy doing some questionable things, right?
And the next thing she knows, she wakes up,
and then also
in
his
room, and she thought, okay, that was just a one-off.
His
That was a crazy thing.
sorry
He was drunk,
speech
I was
on
drunk. I'm
YouTube
not
that he
telling
or
anyone about this.
what
And
did
then
he
there's
did it
another
on like
incident
Twitter or
when
Instagram or some shit?
when he's leaning over her, and she said she felt very uncomfortable because it was not the normal proximity that he would be to her. And one of the security guards, Uncle Paulie, had just been joking when she went up there about how something to the effect of, "I've seen this before," when she went up to his room bringing him his bags. So she felt this developing tension and claimed that she never had any sort of sexual interest in Diddy. And then she talks about how he came into her room one night because when they were on location, different houses, she would have to sleep in a room and never was allowed to lock the door. That Diddy had a rule that this is my house and no one is locking me out of a room, my house, and that she was asleep in her room, and that the next thing she knows, she wakes up and feels the weight of Diddy on top of her, and that was the start of him engaging in non-consensual sex.
Yeah.
And she said that she was terrified and alone and afraid, and she didn't know what to say, what to do, and that was quick. And the way she testified about this, when she talks about anything remotely personal, she cannot say the words. She actually expresses herself by saying, she said, he put his over and over again, and then before saying he put himself inside, and like whispering, he put himself inside me. Whenever she's talking about things that are far less personal, she would clam up and be searching for words. When she was talking even about
that's abuse. That's sexual abuse.
Sometimes she would lose herself
in
the way
abuse.
she would be talking, that she would sound like she's not sure what word she should.
Well, I mean, she's traumatized, right? Fucking.
Talking in that slow, stilted type
how else can you
of
spit
someone
that?
Who many people would say has been traumatized, whether it's by Diddy or by someone else. She might have been traumatized by a complete stranger that we've never heard of. But
right. Well, I mean, given her, given the music industry and how
perhaps by
she's
Diddy,
a good-looking lady,
that's completely
right?
speculative. But ultimately, when she's talking about the assault of a sexual nature, she becomes very. Her breathing is labored, and she comes.
Oh yeah, isn't she pregnant right now too?
Struggling to express it. She said she thought she would die without ever telling anyone this, and that the only time.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically reliving the trauma.
She had a duty to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, I'm expressing this quickly for purposes of trying to keep this video condensed. When she's expressing it in very slow cadence, and how the jury interprets that, whether she's measuring her words because she's traumatized or whether they think she's measuring her words because they think that she's lying.
Who knows? I don't know.
That's the
I don't know. When you're trying to convey things, I mean, for me, if you want to convey things, you probably want to slow down to make sure people hear like what you're saying, correct? Right? Pronunciation is key in certain situations.
Which seems highly prejudicial. It seems as if you're going to get a jury to want to throw him
especially
in
when
prison
when you're dealing with how real this shit is.
Bothering me. But near the end of her testimony, I started to understand what the thought process is. I still, in my heart of hearts, think that it should not have been allowed. I'm gonna go on record as saying that. I don't think it should have been allowed because I think it's so prejudicial, but I can at least understand the argument that the government likely made in order to get this admitted. And it would go something like this, that we want the jury to understand that nobody has an chance to deny Diddy. No one will deny Diddy anyone. Anything, any demand, no one will. So when they're questioning why would Cassie feel compelled to do this, it's because everyone feels compelled to bend to his will and his whim, no matter how
it's just
no matter how outrageous.
Right, Diddy seems to have that, like, he wants to have that domineering effect on people, right? He wants to, seems like, hold power over people.
Said the word no to him.
Right, he wants to be in control of everything.
Say no to him on a sandwich. And if he wants this, there's no way I'm saying no to him on it. Why? What would happen? He would punish me. That I would get fired. I would lose everything. No one would believe me, and it would just be, and I would be humiliated. I would be humiliated. She said she never told Cassie, even though Cassie was a close friend of hers. She never told anyone about this because she saw how when one other woman spoke up, this is a woman by the name of Kayla, spoke up about his abuse of Cass and spoke to HR about it, that the next thing she knew, there's a whole she's part of a joint conference call, and Kayla gets fired. And she said, all that's going to end up happening is I'll get fired, I'll get humiliated. She obviously was very uncomfortable talking about it. She talked about how she's terrified and embarrassing, and she felt like trash when he was engaging in these encounters. And the point is, no one feels empowered to say no to him, and that he will do whatever.
Well, I mean, he's Diddy, right? Nobody wants to say no to Diddy because of just what type of person he is. He owns, right, a lot of property.
Interacting with him.
He owns a lot of businesses. Or he owned a lot of businesses. Right, he had a music label, production label. So it's like, he had a lot of shit. A lot of people liked him. He was also making good music at one point, right? Or helping produce music.
And the
I was
cop
like, he was a big guy.
Gushing, oh my God, I'm such a
well-known
big fan
person.
of yours, and let her go.
So yeah, people would feel afraid. He has a lot of power,
all the
right?
time. Nobody will say no to Diddy. No one's going to believe
He's
me.
pretty iconic in the industry because of what he did. But then at the same time, he did some fucking shady shit, right?
No one's gonna believe me.
A lot of shady shit. I mean, you saw some of the MTV, right? When he did his TV reality show about making the band or whatever. Right? So even during some of those situations, he got upset.
And like they have no choice but to go along with whatever demand Diddy makes.
That's just his character, right?
In my humble opinion, I still don't think it should have been allowed because it's so incredibly inflammatory. But at least you can understand the mindset of the court when they allowed this type of testimony to come in here. We still have not finished direct testimony. That's supposed to conclude tomorrow, as well as getting a cross-examination, which I expect to be blistering, because in several ways her testimony conflicted with, it was corroborative of what Deontay and Cassandra said in the overarching message, but certain details she gave there seemed to be conflicting in ways that the defense is almost certainly going to be aggressive on. I'm Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. Please like, share, subscribe if you like this type of content. I'm here every day dropping a minimum of 2 videos a day, some shorter, some longer. And I urge you, if you like this type of content, don't just like and share and subscribe, drop a comment in the algorithm, and make sure you hit that bell. Till next time, Godspeed.
Well, there you have
From
it.
kidnapping an assistant to firebombing a rival's car to allegations of...
Stop it. There you go. Good Logic, Joe Neerman. If you want to take a look at his stuff. What's tomorrow? Friday? I think there's a court trial tomorrow, or yeah. I think there's one tomorrow as well, so we'll probably do an update for tomorrow as well. They said they're doing it for like 6 weeks or something like that. And this is week 2. So we got, what, 4 more weeks, right? Apparently. So we will see the outcome when it happens. Or at least keep getting updates until it happens. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to take a look at Joe's stuff, Good Logic. Yeah, he does a lot of attorney litigator analysis on court system stuff, and he practices too.